Hi, welcome to Five Lemons Laughing. I'm Morgan, and we have all five of us here today.
Yay!
Yay! Here with Amanda, Penny, Melissa, and Drusilla. And today we've got a really timely topic. So let's get into it. A Course in Miracles says, I need do nothing. This is probably one of the more often quoted quotes from the Course. But it's also one of the maybe more abstract or confusing quotes. Like, what do we do with that? So, are we just supposed to light a candle and meditate and scroll past the chaos that we see in the news? Because if you're anything like us, that answer doesn't always sit right when you're watching institutions crumble, corruption is being exposed left and right, and it seems like people are being hurt. So today we're digging into some questions like not just how we feel about what's happening in the world, but what as spiritual students are we actually called to do about it, if anything?
Wow, that's a big question, Morgan. Oh my gosh. Because we've all done the inner work, right? We've all done it. We know how to journal through the anxiety. We know how to breathe through the rage. Let's just take a breath right now. Yeah, we can find our center, especially when the world goes sideways. Well, mostly, right? But I think there comes a point when we start to wonder, okay, is peace enough? Is prayer enough? Or does something, or does, or does, or is there something else calling us? Is love calling us to do something else? So, if you look around, honestly, if you look around, I mean, the Epstein files, the corruption in governments, churches, corporations, the continued misogyny directed at women. I mean, it feels like the shadows aren't hiding anymore. It's outrageous. I actually think it's kind of outrageous. All of this is going on. It's going on right in broad daylight, and it can be disturbing. But if we truly believe we're here on purpose right now, not by some cosmic accident, we're here, then we've got to ask ourselves, what does that actually mean for how we show up? Like, are we called to meditate, mentor, or march? Are we called to love louder or quieter? Maybe the real question underneath all of this is, what does love or source or the universe or God, whatever you call your higher power, want to do through me today? So, Amanda, Drusilla, Morgan, Melissa, what about you? When you look at the world right now, where do you feel source is nudging you to speak, to serve, or to be still? I'm really curious how that question lands for you all. Yeah. So, what do you guys think? The ladies think? It's a big question.
It is a big question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've already spoken, but I can go if we have crickets. I feel I spoke about this a little bit in our small group yesterday. I feel like my response to what's going on in the world right now is a little different than it would have been a couple of years ago. I feel I went through a period in my spiritual journey where I really had to tune out what was happening in the world. I really had to focus on myself. Um, I could not energetically deal with the news of the world. It was too upsetting, too disturbing to my peace. And I knew that I was being called to focus on my inward journey and do what I could to anchor in peace and love and joy within myself. And I couldn't do that if the media frenzy was infiltrating my system with fear and anxiety. So I went through many years where I just did not pay attention to what was going on in the world. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, quite frankly. I'm not there anymore. I feel that something has calibrated within me, and I'm able to hold in my awareness what is happening and not let it throw me off balance. And so I think I'm being called to bear witness to what's happening. And I also shared yesterday, like, it doesn't incite fear for me. And if anything, it incites a little bit of dare I say, excitement that we're alive at this time to watch these systems crumble. We talk all the time about how awareness is curative. And that's what's happening right now. All of this stuff has been going on for, years, decades, probably hundreds of years, possibly millennia. And now we're aware of it. And that's how we heal our false beliefs and our thoughts. If they're just running under the surface in the background and we're not even aware of them, then they continue to run the show. So we get excited as spiritual students when we have these awarenesses. So we can apply that same principle to what's happening in the world right now. It's being brought to the light. It's being brought to our awareness. And yes, for some people, it's going to feel a little bit scary, possibly for a time period, but we can shift our focus on what we can control and what we can contribute. I mean, you don't make a bucket list for all the things you don't want to experience before you die. You know what I mean? So one thing that I feel called to do is focus on what I would like to see. So I'm focused on yay, the matriarchy is being birthed. It's rising. The patriarchy is crumbling. Old systems are crumbling. And so I'm focusing there. And I'm contributing in other ways too. So anyway, I'm going to stop there and just see what other people have to share.
I'll say that was really beautiful, Morgan. That I would probably say something very similar. But I feel like right now in my life, I'm called to focus on a smaller tribe. And that tribe is my extended family, specifically my hundreds of cousins that I like to say, some of them new. and I, the whole feeling of being lost or not connected with the rest of the world is what I started to feel the latter part of last year. And so it just dawned upon me that other people might feel the same. And so I feel this calling to bring that to their awareness and to see what everybody else is feeling in relation to what's going on in the world. Like, are you feeling isolated and disconnected? And so that's, I don't want to go way into the weeds with it, but that's what I feel like I'm being called to do at this time.
That's really important what you said, Drusilla, because there is a epidemic of loneliness and disconnection going on in the world right now. And that's what the ego wants, right? Wants us to feel separate, wants us to feel disconnected, wants us to feel lonely, because then the ego wins. And so I love what you said, that you're focusing on your tribe, your family tribe, because as I was reflecting on this episode 2, I thought, I do go to the No Kings March. I have done that. There's one coming up on March 28th. And I am also being drawn to just focus on what's going on in my neighborhood. I mean, we've talked about it in a couple of episodes. And I think that this woman is just an example of the world, what's going on in the world. And so I've decided that, let it begin with me, right? In 12-step recovery, we talk about it has to begin with me first and foremost. So I need to come to terms with how I'm going to, what my stand's going to be. Is it going to be a loving stand? And it can be loving and still firm. And I guess as a people pleaser, I'm kind of sorting that out because so that's where I like what you said, Drusilla, because that's what I think that's what I'm going to do, is just focus on what's going on right in my own neighborhood, because it spills out everywhere. When I first started coaching, one of the presuppositions is what's occurring for one is occurring for all on some level. So if one person's feeling lonely, probably everybody on some level is feeling lonely. Yeah. So I just, that's what came to me as I was thinking about this episode too.
I'm with Morgan. And I'm excited to be alive at this time. I'm excited when I watch all of these things happening, that there is so much light being brought to all kinds of subjects. It's like there is no stone that's not being turned over right now. And I watch podcasts about like astrology type podcasts and stuff like that. And this, in what's happening in the stars, is like it hasn't happened in centuries. Like, like this is a time of exposure, of turning over, and I'm just excited to be a part of it. Now, as far as actions, like I hardly ever see anybody, right? I just don't. I don't even feel like it a few years ago I was really drawn like to go out and to be around people. I just don't feel that way. I don't feel lonely. I just feel like cultivating this inner peace is the most important thing for me to do right now. And these things are coming up for me. Like I feel like unsettled. I'm having to get used to quiet and peace. I've said many times on the podcast, like I really don't want peace. Sounds boring to me, right? So I'm getting used to silence, like turning off everything. Drusilla has mentioned, it still blows my mind. Like she doesn't have noise in the house. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, how can you like walk around without the radio or the TV or, something? So I think about you, Drusilla, every time I turn off the TV and just like be silent. I'm like, I'm channeling Drusilla.
It's yummy, right?
Yeah, it's trippy, right? So I'm getting used to peace. I'm getting used to the feeling of peace. It's very uncomfortable for me. So I'm doing a lot of inner work that way. And I don't go all day without the TV on, right? I feel success when I just turn it off and go do stuff, or like when I go outside. So I'm taking little increments of just allowing peace in my being. So I feel like I'm taking huge action for the world by whatever I'm doing with myself. And Mike, my husband, is building a fence and I'm helping. I will give props. He's doing 95% of the work. I'm doing 5%. And there's also go Mike, right? But like yesterday we had a discussion about like where the fence line was, and to have a stance on something, to have a way that I want it done. Like I'm a little controlly. So like I have a vision where I want it, but to let that go, but to still like when it's time to like, this is how this is where I want the fence. Right. It sounds so small, but it's so big. So like to have a conversation with love, like something that I just know that I want. So like, this is so like to know when to hold firm, to know when to have these uncomfortable conversations, and then to know when to give. Right. So, and that's all about it, literal boundaries, right? The fence is a boundary. So, part of it is the fence, the boundary is moving differently than I would have it move. Part of it is like, taking a stand about where I want this part of it. So I see the world in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I see my own repression, like where I'm holding myself back. I see where part of me doesn't want to go. Part of me just likes the solitude, but part of me doesn't want to go out in the community because I haven't been out in the community in a while, but like, I'm just tired of people bitching about stuff. right? Like, and I just don't feel like I'm in a place where, like, if I'm out at dinner, like looking at somebody and going, well, what is fucked up in your life, right? Like, are you fixing your own shit before you start spewing it on everybody else? So there's that too, right? Because, and but mainly it's about me. It's about feeling comfortable with myself. It's about getting comfortable with peace, comfortable with peace. And my word of the year is acceptance, and loving. And it's about loving humanity, all of it, the warts and all, like loving it all, loving myself. So, Morgan, I'm so glad you wanted to talk about this because this is important stuff.
I feel like you just described the holographic universe.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like you're working on yourself, but in doing so, you're working on the whole. And it made me think of the whole David Hawkins, the idea that one person vibrating at the level of love counterbalances 750,000 people vibrating at the lower levels of fear or below that. So you are contributing even on your own little island out there in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I feel that intensely, right? I do feel that. I mean, I've known that for years now, that what I change in myself affects the world. I know that. So,
yes.
But thank you for stating it again. Melissa, it's your turn. We haven't heard from you yet.
Okay. So I feel like it's macro and micro for me. So I'm living in a different country. So it's different over here. Like people aren't like constantly talking, constantly like, what are you? Are you a Democrat? Are you Republican? Are you liberal or are you conservative? Like always summing people up. I'm sure they do it in their own way, but as far as politics go, it's not happening over here like it is in America. It was a huge relief to come here and shut some of that off because it really has shut off. We can check out the news and be involved as we want. But I don't choose to do that much. I kind of think I'm on a spiritual podcast for that reason. I'm not on a political podcast because I really, it's not my focus. Of course, I care about my loved ones. I care about my country, but again, I'm on a spiritual podcast, and my peace and my spirit is what is my focus, and how I can love myself and others. It's not about this outer focus of the fear, the problems. Because I'll get into fear and control and thinking about feeling powerless against these people that are in charge that are doing things that I don't agree with. That's overwhelming to me. So I just don't put my attention there. The other thing is I really feel like politics is a made up situation that humans made up to control themselves and each other. And I think we need it. We need some of that, but it is a made up system. So when I buy into this made up system, I don't feel it's very authentic. And so that's another reason I choose not to put my attention there. And micro would be the more I can develop my love and start and let go of the blocks that I have to loving myself and others. I think I'm cleaning up my side of the street, which is what you are all saying. You're cleaning up your side of the street and it will go out to the universe. So we have been called unpatriotic by some people we know because we moved, and we are not. But I just refuse to let it consume me and let it take me places that replace my peace with fear mongering. And I also think that the more we see, like just exactly what you're saying, it's a hologram of the other things that we're holding in ourselves, violence and anger and against other people that we hold with our own mind. And it's just playing out on a bigger stage. So again, the more I can clean up my side of the street, hopefully my energy helps clean up the energy out there. But really, the bottom line is I really, really feel and believe in human rights. And that's where I get most affected by this, by politics. Otherwise, I really feel like it's all just this act or this play that people are deciding to be a part of, and a lot of people are deciding to be a part of it for power. So yeah, there's a lot in there.
I'm so glad that you said that. When you were talking, I just realized that I still have so my word of the year is acceptance, but I'm judging my, what I said just a few minutes ago was very judgy, right? Because part of the reason that I don't want to be amongst people is because they're not cleaning up their own shit, right? That was very, I didn't even realize how judgy that was until you started talking, Melissa. I'm like, oh my God, I have a lot to do in my own stuff, right? Because if I'm judging someone else because I think that they should be saying something different or doing something different or anything, right? That's me judging them as wrong. And, let the truth be told, clearly there was a little bit of better than and less than too, right? Because, obviously my way is better. So I don't know what it was that you said, Melissa, that really brought up some inner reflection in me. There's a lot to do in here in my own space.
Mm-hmm.
I have one more story, and that is years ago, probably 25 years ago, I was having dinner with a friend of my husband's and mine. And he was trying to engage me into a political discussion. And then he said something so demeaning, essentially like, are you that stupid? You don't even know about politics. You need to start following politics because you need to have an opinion and you need to this and that. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know what? Why don't we have a discussion about art history? That's what I really loved at the time. And I was like, let's talk about art history, okay? Because that's another subject. And do you know anything about art history? Let's talk about some art. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I said, that's where you put your focus and that's what you like to do. I'm over here thinking about art history and nature and the artists I work with at the time. And that is just where my attention goes. That's what lights me up. That's what I love to do. That's what I love to talk about. So these are two separate, I just choose not. That's not where my focus is. And does that make sense? Why can't you just let me be interested in what I'm interested in, and you be interested in what you're interested in, and you don't have to tell me to be interested in what you're interested in. And it was a real change. It kind of just made me accept the fact that I'm not interested in politics.
I agree. I think politics is a distraction, and I think it's implemented by the billionaires, the evil masterminds behind all the bullshit that's happening to keep us pitted against each other. What's happening right now in the world is not a political. It's the age old, since the beginning of duality, good versus evil. And, they want us to think it's right versus left, but it's really, the 1% versus the 99%. But if they can have us thinking it's the 50% against the 50%, then we won't ever accomplish anything.
Yeah, I like that. I really love this discussion. Melissa, when you made the statement about politics being just a made up system, that resonated with me so much. I remember literally thinking one day, and this was way probably 40 years ago, when I was watching the news. I can't remember what war we were in at the time, but I remember them talking about the rules of engagement and not striking civilian. And I'm like, the hell, if it's war and it's really war, why are there rules? Like, that's the first time I thought about that. It's just made up, like you said, Melissa. But that was the first time it ever dawned on me. And I guarantee you there's people walking around in the world today that hadn't thought of it even at that level, because that's pretty basic understanding, right? If there's rules of it, then war is really all made up as well, right? But yeah, so that's what I was thinking when you said it. I thought that's perfect for someone who hasn't thought on the basic level of awareness about what you and Morgan just described as being made up systems to keep us all in the dark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really it's causing me to really choose to stand in my power more. Like it says, and I'm not going to give an exact quote, but it says in the book Conversations with God, which I'm reading right now, that we are under no laws, no rules. Nothing confines us except for those that we impose upon ourselves. We have absolute free will, and our only job is to become, define who we are, and to expand into that. And so everything that's coming to light right now is just really causing me to question, like, oh, why am I just, I'll just give an example right here. Why am I just willingly giving my money to a government that has not had our best interests at heart from the beginning, that is systematically poisoning its people and engaging in wars that nobody, is for? And a whole laundry list of other things. But it's just like, I have just done it just like a sheep for my whole life without ever questioning, is this actually aligned with my values and who I am? And even like consciously choosing where I'm spending my money and the products that I'm putting on my body and using in my home. Like, just, why shouldn't I turn left at this red light when there's no traffic coming, just because this machine is telling me to? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just really questioning which rules of society and government that I'm choosing to abide by. I'm not going to just be told what to do anymore.
I think, Morgan, you said, it was in my head, I was going to say this when you were done, and you said it right before you finished, which is, I think we're all discussing that we have choices. You have a choice to believe what you want to believe. You have a choice to initiate and participate how it works for you, for your own reasons. And you don't have to be a person that just comes home from work and turns on the news and sits and watches the news through dinner, or becomes obsessed with it, or whatever, or gets in arguments. You don't have to do that if that's not your choice. It's obviously your choice at the time, but I think some people don't realize it is a choice that they can make to do it or not to do it. And then, Morgan, you're giving choices of how you can participate or how you can change your mind. And I think that's the beauty of this discussion, is it opens up new ways of thinking and making choices that you might not have thought about before.
Yeah. Well, and going back to the introduction, when Penny was like, are we to just sit in meditation and prayer and thoughts and prayers? Well, you're never not praying. Every thought that you think is a prayer. Every word that you speak is a prayer. Every emotion that you feel is a prayer. And that is the law of attraction. So you can't help but be praying about what's happening. Are you praying for the fear? Are you putting your attention on the fear and the anxiety and the worst case scenario? Because your thoughts and your attention to that subject matter is your prayer, whether you like it or not. It's what you are asking for. So that's worth noting, I believe.
Well, Morgan, I think that we're going to have to dig a little deeper since you said that. I mean, we can't assume that all our listeners have been with us through this third year journey that we're on. So can you explain a little more about how all of our thoughts and words are prayers?
I'm going to let somebody else take it because I've been running my mouth a lot this episode.
No, but it's been perfect. I love it. And plus, this is your wheelhouse.
Well, how can I say it, explain it clearly? So in the New Testament, it says, ask and ye shall receive. In A Course in Miracles, it says, how does it say it in A Course in Miracles? Oh, well, it says, it is done unto you as you believe. And so every prayer is answered, but the answer to the prayer doesn't necessarily look like how you think it looks. Like if your prayer is, let him be healed of this cancer, but you're holding in your mind that he's sick, he's not well. Oh my gosh, I'm so worried about him. Oh my gosh. And you're just so focused on that energetic of him being unwell, then that is the prayer. That is the signature of your prayer. It's not the words that you speak. It's the combination of the thoughts, words, and emotions, and like whatever the predominant undercurrent is the prayer that is answered. It's that where you put your energy is where energy, what is it? Where your attention
goes, energy flows.
Thank you, Penny. Struggling on that one. That is the nature of prayer, but we've not been taught this. And that might have been intentional to keep us disempowered. But awareness is curative. So I don't know if that explained it clearly, but that was my attempt.
Yep. I think that was great, but I think that was worth noting. And I do think that it may be for some people doing them and everybody can assess for their own, it may be doing them a disservice to sit and watch the news if it's creating more fear inside. Or if it's creating an opportunity for them to be aware, because I will have to say, watching the news in the last few days, one particular channel that I always thought or that I wanted to believe was more neutral, I was beginning to see that, even in the time that may seem to be, what do I want to call it? A more concern of our overall security as a nation, that it still seems to pivot towards disagreeing, not only disagreeing, but shedding light to things that could be risking our security as a nation, instead of being neutral about how it's presenting the news. And that I wouldn't necessarily say I saw a few years back. And so every time a person watches the news, they could be gaining something from it by way of awareness. But I think the thing that you've all talked about today is the awareness moving you towards a way that you're being helpful to the cause instead of hurtful to the cause.
I think that Morgan brought up a really good thing that speaks to that, is that choice, right? This work, this inner work that we're doing is setting us in our power. It's rooting us in love. And as we take action from that, it makes a difference. So like, I never really, I don't think of myself as a political activist. And at the same time, I buy most of my clothes at thrift stores because and the reason that I do that is because I don't want to buy in, use it once and throw it away. I don't want to buy in to the consumerism of people telling me what I should wear or not wear. I don't want to buy in consumerism. And with that, like a bunch of fast fashion from China, like there's ripple effects. Like if we, like there is all the oil, which we're fighting wars over, like shipping it here. There's all the synthetics that are oil-based, petroleum-based. There is the labor of who knows what's going on, right? In the United States, there's laws that we have to follow, right? So there's all kinds of things behind it. So that is my choice. I work in a place where you refill your soap dispenser, so you're not buying plastics, right? And plastics are petroleum. Plastics are, like that is. So for me, I am looking at it. I'm really changing my behavior and taking a stand, which I just don't think of myself as taking stands for something, but I do. Like my everyday actions do.
Well, we vote with our pocketbook. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
We do. We vote with our pocketbook. And also the AI revolution, like not all of us on this call, but at least 4 out of the 5 I know use AI all the time. And what that says is that we are buying into the war, right? Because it's oil. It's, right now we're oil based. Right now we don't have sun that would power this AI revolution. I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm just saying our actions speak. What we do every day, like taking it to the micro level, it makes a difference.
Absolutely, really does. It does. And, that's a good point, Amanda. And I think it can be overwhelming and discouraging. So I think it's important to just take your baby steps. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's my plan. I'm not like I'm intending to shift all of my entire wardrobe over to natural fibers, but am I going to throw out my entire wardrobe and go buy an all new wardrobe tomorrow? No, it's going to be a process that probably takes years, and that's okay. But it's just making intentional, conscious choices, shifting what you can. And, if everybody, did 1 or 2 small things here and there, that would add up. So just do what you can. Don't feel like if I can't do it all, it's not worth doing anything.
Yeah, that all or nothing thinking will give us. Yeah.
Absolutely. I know that we're about at time, but I feel like we should just quickly, since we brought it up in the intro, address the whole I need do nothing. Can anybody give a thought about what that means in A Course in Miracles and how that applies in our everyday life?
I'll take a stab at it.
Please.
So it goes back to Drusilla's question to you. So, our lives are prayers, because we are projecting what we want in the world by what we think, what we say, what we consume, and that attracts the same thing to us. So that is part of it. And I need do nothing. The word need, needing is grasping and wanting and doing, need has a feeling tone to it. So in my opinion, if we let go of that needing to change, wanting, then we are actually doing something. So I don't need to do it, but I could be inspired to do it. Like my ego doesn't need to go out and protest, but my love could inspire me to do it.
Beautiful. That feels so clear. I love the way you said that.
Wow. Well, I feel like we've just barely begun to scratch the surface.
There's so much more to this conversation, because we haven't talked about, we're at the end, but we haven't talked about, as we brought up the Epstein files, we haven't talked about victim. We haven't talked about, there's so much more stuff.
Like, how do we reconcile all the pain and suffering for so many people across the world?
Yeah. We haven't even got into that. What we did do was take a huge overall step towards being at peace and having that peace reverberate out into the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What is that song? Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. That's the song. I think that kind of sums up our episode. Yeah, it's so I have a few Post-its that I'd like to share, and I'm not going to share them all, but I'll share some of them. So the very first one that I just loved, see the world in your life. That's so important because I think that what's going on out in the world, I mean, we're all one, so it's happening in each of us as well. And then I loved when Morgan said, one person vibrating love counterbalances 750,000 people vibrating at the level of fear. Ooh, so let's all vibrate love all day long because we need a lot less fear. There's so much fear out there in this world. And we can do that by cleaning up our side of the street. And remember, we have absolute free will. And our only job is to really become who we are. And I love, Michelle Obama wrote the book Becoming. And that when you said that, Morgan, it just reminded me of that book. And then the final one is where your thoughts go, your energy flows. And I also wanted to, so powerful episode today, but I also wanted to let our listeners know that there's a lot of really exciting things coming up with all 5 of us. And I really encourage you to head on over to Substack and look at Melissa's recent entry, The Moment Was Never the Problem. I just love reading your entries when you post them, Melissa. So thank you for that. And Drusilla is launching a new TV show, Love Theory. So that's gonna take out some of those 750,000 fearful thoughts. I love it. And then Amanda Morgan and their friend Angela are about to launch a workshop. It takes one. And you can send an email to miracle of the number one, just miracle of one at gmail.com. And they can
miracle of one.
The miracle. Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't get that. The miracle of one. And you can also post to this podcast if you need some clarity around that. And then I also am offering free saboteur assessments. If you want to figure out what your saboteurs are, from the positive intelligence perspective, just reach out to me at pennypalace@gmail.com and I'll be able to help you with that. It's fun. And yeah, so as we wrap up this episode, I mean, there's so much going on. If we allow it to overtake us, then we're allowing the fear to enter in and, I don't know, can wipe me out in a nanosecond. And so I just need to remember that it's love. This is really all about love. And maybe just take a breath this week and ask yourself, what do you want to do through me today? You can just ask whatever your higher power is. Just ask that question and then listen to what you get back. And if you feel inspired, take action because that's your higher power guiding you. The intuition, the intuitive hits, they're powerful. Yeah. So thank you for being here with us today in this conversation and for being part of the love wave. That's what I'm going to call it. Let's just spread that love. Yeah. So keep laughing, keep loving, and keep letting love lead your way. And so that's when the transformation happens, right? Is when you switch from fear to love. And that's no simple task. So your transformation is our greatest joy. So keep coming back, keep listening, and we love you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye, everyone.